For you listeners that are checking this out right now, you may have listened on one of the latest episodes of the Nashville podcast. We were with author D.W. Gillespie, and you heard that we are going to also be having a little bit of extra from another author. So we wanted to bring him here so that you can not just hear, but also see him. I know that authors tend to not care to be in the spotlight that much. They want to showcase their work via words, but we have John Elliott Kay with us, who has got a couple books published, and we'll hear about that, The King's Elite, and that trilogy that's going on. And we're going to hear about his story, how he got started, maybe what are some tips that he can bring to you if you're curious about exploring your creative venue. So we're going to be getting to that. So John, welcome. Glad you could join us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. So, just give us a little bit of an intro to yourself. How did you get into writing? That folks that maybe have listened to the podcast, they heard from DW that he knew that he wanted to write, and so he kind of pursued that through college via that way, but you had a little bit of a different route in that I was able to be with you during that stage. And so tell them a little bit of your background.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Brody, you and I, we go back to college. And during that time, I didn't really have a direction. I can't say I've always wanted to write, and it's something that just kind of happened, really. I studied education over at Union University, and graduated, got married, and went and got my master's, and just thought that was pretty much the career I was going to pursue. And one of my first teaching jobs was with kids with special needs, and most of them were really behind on their reading, and we had all kinds of material for them to read in class, but most of them weren't really interested in it. And for fun, the only thing I could really get them to read, I found, was things that I created and made up. They're short little stories, and most of them read it just because they wanted to make fun of what I was doing, which was fine because it served its purpose. But over the course, they kept on asking questions on certain stories, and through that, the kind of the bare bones of my first book, The King's Elite, got its start. And even at that time, I had no intentions of having it published. It was just trying to get my students to read on a daily basis. But my sister at the time was illustrating for Borderstone Press. And she gave Brian Mooney, their CEO, a call and was like, "Hey, you need to check out what my brother's doing." And he called, and it was kind of like a why not? Okay, let's just give this a shot. And it was, you hear of a rough draft. This was a rough draft. I mean, it was terrible.
The roughest of the rough.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. But I learned a lot through him, and he walked me through it. And so that's kind of where I got my start. And I'm not sure if that's... It was during that process is when I discovered my love for writing. And that's when I was like, hey, I enjoy doing this, and let's see where this goes.